is Keon, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can integrate your FileMaker solution with Sage Intacct. So to get started, you will need the Base Elements plugin because the Intacct API is an XML API. So Base Elements has some neat little functions that make it very easy to read the API's response. It's free to download online. You can just Google Base Elements. So to get started, you'll have to fill out the setup page. I'll go ahead and explain what each one of these sections are. So first, you'll have to sign up for Sage Intacct or already have an account. There are no demo accounts for the API, so you have to already have one. Then the sender ID and the sender password are credentials that you can get from your account manager. They are not logins as you would log in to Intacct Online. The master admin ID and master admin password is the master login for Intacct that you would use to sign in. You can't simply create a new user. It has to be essentially the top level account. And then the Intacct company ID is also the company ID that you use to sign in as well. I would note that it is important that you'll want to test all of this functionality in a sandbox, which you should have, or your account manager can help you set up. And the sandbox would have its own login and its own company ID. That way you can test your API before just unleashing it on your live accounting system. So once you have all of this ready to go, you can go ahead and click this button and go to sample. So what I've got here is just some basic customer data. We have a customer name and an address and then an ID. So this ID has to be unique in Intacct. You cannot create different customers with the same ID. And then the customer name is also a required field. So what we're going to go ahead and do is hit this Post to Intacct button. And then the API response is just displayed down here for your reference. So now we can go ahead and go into our customer list and search for DB services. We can hit view here, and you can now see that this customer with the name, the ID, and the address has been added. Now let's take a look at how exactly this integration is done. So initially we grab a list of variables, the credentials that you use to sign in, then the details for the actual company. From there, we use insert text to actually build our XML body. For how the XML bodies are set up, you can reference the API documentation. They also have a very nice Postman repository that you can see all of their API calls and bodies in. So initially what we do is we create a session. This is the recommended way to authenticate whenever you're doing a series of calls. You do not need to create a session for every individual API call. So for example, if you were to create a customer, a contact, and then an invoice, you wouldn't need to create 3 sessions. You would just create 1 session and use that session to authenticate with all 3 calls. But every time you do a batch process, you should be creating at least 1 session. So looking at this, what we do is we like to use the insert text because then we can just build our XML in a text editor, and then we just paste it right in and we don't have to worry about commenting and uncommenting these quotes. And as you can see, we just have our authentication variables and all of that are inside of brackets. And what we end up doing is just substituting them out on this in line 42, where we say, hey, replace this with the XML encoded sender ID, which we grab up here, and we do that with everything else. Once that is ready, we then build our curl. This is a post, and of course, we're doing XML, and our body is essentially this XML that we inserted here and edited here. Then you've got the callback URL. This is also available on their website. And then we use the insert URL, and we want the response to go into this result variable right here. So from there, we then grab the session ID, which we use the base elements function XPath to grab it from the result variable. Now, if there is no session ID, we know there is an issue, and it's because the credentials are bad, because those are the only things that we pass when we're creating a session. Now that we've created our session, we will then use that to authenticate with the API and pass the data. So once again, we have the same insert text, but this time, as you can see, it is the actual customer post request. We do the same thing by replacing the bracket notation with actual variables, and you just always want to make sure you're XML encoding everything. Then from there, we set up our curl, set up our URL, and it functions the exact same way. So it's always good to error trap the actual insert from URL script step. And then from there, you then need to error trap essentially 4 levels. So the sender status could fail, which means that your sender credentials are incorrect. The authentication status could fail, which means that you've authenticated incorrectly, which would mean that you have a bad session, more or less, if you pass a different session ID. Because if you notice, you still have to pass the sender ID and the sender password whenever you make a call. However, instead of authenticating with a username, password, and a specific URL every time, we can kind of skip that by simply using the session ID. So think of the session ID as replacing these 3 things right here. So once you've checked those 2, you then have to check the body status. So an error that would be here would be if your XML is formatted incorrectly, or if you're essentially syntax issues, more or less. Then the final level is an actual error message, which is saying that you've built your call correctly. The API was able to read the call, but there was something in the call they didn't like. So maybe the customer name wasn't filled in, you have required fields you didn't fill in, or you're trying to pass a duplicate customer ID, that would prompt this right here. So if all 3 of these don't read success, then you can assume that it was successful, and we can post our response here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us via our Contact Us form or just giving us a call. Best of luck and happy developing.